Radio Free Santa Clarita presents The Talk of Santa Clarita, a podcast about issues involving Santa Clarita and the surrounding valley. With your host, Stephen Daniels. Episode 165, Chairperson for the Santa Clarita Valley Democrats, Andrew Taban. And now, let's see what the Talk of Santa Clarita is.
And remember, this is for posterity, so be honest.
Andrew Taban, welcome to the Talk of Santa Clarita.
Thank you.
It's been a while since you've been here.
Yeah.
You were one of the first, I think the first 10 people that were on the show, maybe somewhere around there, something like that, right when we were getting started. Now we got video and now 7 listeners.
Wow.
So
that's more than before, right?
Before it was in the negatives.
Oh wow! So we're moving up here.
Yeah,
I like it.
Actually, had to pay people for watching. No, I appreciate you coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
You were running for school board last time.
I was.
And how was that? How was the election?
I lost. So, that was a really good experience. One of the things about the campaign that we always said was, it's just really to get ideology out there, get people engaged, and I remember when I was running, I had a lot of people, because I think I was the youngest at that time to run. And I had a lot of people who I went to high school with who were like, yeah, I'm actually voting now. So, thanks for getting us out there. They went out there to vote for me, which was really sweet of them. But it was really just to, get people engaged, push what I thought would be better governance and transparency. But at the end of the day, the voters chose. Yeah, but
didn't you do pretty well, though? I mean,
I think around 40%, but I was up against a 16-year incumbent. And, But it was a good campaign. My opponent was very kind. We were gracious to each other, so it was a good first run.
You ever think about running again?
I'm not knocking it out, but my main goal right now is just really be there for the community, do whatever we need to make it better, because I think really at the end of the day, isn't that what government, politics, and politicians were all supposed to be doing?
Yeah, but I mean, why not run again? I mean, you've got 40% of the vote. Why not run for, if not school board, why not run for something else?
So, you know what? It's a lot. Running is a lot. But also, I think a lot of people tend to think, I need to be elected to do change. But at the end of the day, there's so many things that have to be done in politics and government in general. People, it's not just the person that's elected. There's staff, there's advocates, there's people who push for change or create policy. So right now, I'm kind of just doing a lot of the behind the scenes. I'm also now the chair of the organization, but
we're going to get to that.
But so
the main reason you're here.
Yeah, but also
this is the small talk, Andrew.
Oh that too.
All right. You've been active as a Democrat in the community for quite some time. I mean, ever since. I mean, when you decided to run, didn't you come out as a Democrat? I mean, come out. What a bizarre way to put it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was. It's like that was the point where you realized you were a Democrat, I guess.
Yeah. So I actually was sitting down with a friend of mine, and because when I first registered, I think I registered the day after the June election because my birthday's in July. So by the next election, I was going to be 18. So I registered and predominantly as a declined estate first. I hadn't really looked into it.
Because the cool people were doing it.
I was not a cool person, so so I just kind of looked at she pointed the platforms to me, and I was like, I identify with that one way more than the other one. And then she goes, well, that's the Democratic Party platform. I was like, I guess I am a Democrat. And so, I was an openly gay and openly Democratic.
Well, there almost seems to be a metaphor there. It's just coming out and recognizing your Democratic principles.
Yeah, my Democratic principles and it worked.
Yeah.
But so it was an open Democrat running in the city.
What is it about being a Democrat that you like? I mean, why are you a Democrat?
Why? So, I mean, don't get me wrong, much like every party and every group, we have our flaws. But at the end of the day, especially now, I think more than ever, we're fighting for inclusivity, the rights of all Americans, recognizing that, you may not have to agree with someone, but that doesn't mean you can discriminate against them, fighting for election accountability, not trying to overthrow an election result was probably one of my biggest standpoints right now, but has a lot to do with inclusivity, working for middle Americans or middle class Americans, and just seeing how we can best represent everyone in the U.S.
The partisanship between the two parties now is so bad.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost like, there's no like middle road anymore. You know what I mean? It's like you are either a Democrat or you are a Republican. There is no middle ground.
Which is so sad, because I think a majority of Americans are, not many people are really far left or far right. A majority of Americans, at the end of the day, we want good schools, a good environment, money to put food on the table, and good education for our future generations, and something to leave to our future generations, But we have so much noise right now about,
what do you mean by noise?
By noise, I mean partisanship. I mean, you just hear all of these people, I hate to say it, Congressman Garcia is a perfect example of noise. Really offers no substance as to what he is doing or what he's fighting for, but all he'll keep saying is, not doing those liberal policies up here in D.C. Well, what the heck are you talking about? What liberal policy are you talking about? This is the same guy who voted against the Equality Act and the Violence Against Women's Act. Where's the partisanship in making sure you can't legally discriminate and to protect women? What the heck are we talking about now? Or are you just doing it because your party leader says so? And also, why is he saying that?
In my case, it's my impression of him that it is because his party leader said so. And as I've said on other podcasts, there was a different Mike Garcia 4 months before he became the front runner.
Yeah.
And then he started quoting talking points. Yeah. I'm always struck by the difference between the two parties, because it's sort of like the Democrats, it's like, okay, the Republicans can say, well, it costs too much to do this, it costs too much to do that. But how do you say that the Democrats are the bad guys by wanting to get health care to everybody? You know what I mean? You can argue the case that there's not enough money to do that. Or
you certainly can,
or that there's, or there are issues to deal with on structurally or whatever, in the infrastructure to do it. But ultimately, the idea of equality for all, the idea of inclusiveness, as you said, or the right to vote, or health care, or feeding the poor. Why? How could you call us a bad guy? You know what I mean?
Even when you go back to looking at the economics of all of it, there are just difference in priorities. The Republicans had no problem doing a 1.9 trillion tax cut. But when it came to helping Americans get their feet off of the ground and trying to do a stimulus, then all of a sudden it became, what are we doing? It's priorities, and clearly the priorities are of the opposition party right now. And this is not to slam all of them or to say everyone who's a registered Republican believes this,
Right.
But right now, the people representing us in Washington who just happen to be registered Republicans, clearly it doesn't look like they're fighting for every American. Why would you vote against that? Or then, okay, if you're going to talk about the economics of it and saying we need to get Americans back to work, what are you doing to actually get them back to work? What are we doing to help them get themselves off the ground? Are we going to give them a stimulus check? Are we going to make sure every American has access to the vaccine?
Right.
But every step of the way, it's clear that they're doing a roadblock. There was no discussion. When it came to, for example, the Violence Against Women's Act, all of a sudden, our current congressman says, I'm not going to vote yes, but I'm going to vote on a different bill that's better. The Violence Against Women's Act has already been a law, and I'm really glad the House finally passed, where we don't have to keep doing this ridiculous renewal of it. But why are you starting completely over simply because it was supported by the Democratic majority? We're supposed to be working for the American people, not for our parties.
Yeah.
So, which again, don't get me wrong, I'm a registered Democrat and I fully support I can't say every Democrat, but I obviously agree with the majority of the party platform. So yes, I'm a Democrat and I support Democrats. But at the end of the day, the job of all of us, everybody who's fighting as an advocate for the party on either side or even identifying with a party, we're supposed to be here to make the lives better for the American people. And that is really at the baseline of everything. At least it's supposed to be.
What makes being a Democrat so great then?
I mean, right now, if we're just looking at right now, it was the people who believe in a legitimate election. For one, we did not support the domestic terrorism that happened on the Capitol. We denounced it. We're looking at Georgia, for example, Stacey Abrams fighting to make sure every single registered voter can vote and has access to voting, expanding voting. I mean, it's really at this point, and this sounds awful, but it really looks like the party who's just fighting for the people. I mean, what was it? That's a few days ago. For now, Georgia just passed a new election law limiting voting, and then you can't even give water to people.
Yeah, that one strikes me as fascinating. You can't give food or water to people standing in line.
Yeah, so they'll manage to be sure to close enough voting spots where they're going to have to wait in line for 6 to 8 hours, but they can't have access to food or drink.
Yeah.
What the heck? Yeah. So, and that wasn't passed by Democrats, but they're claiming it's all for the election integrity with no proof of election fraud or any malintent in any of the elections. I mean, what is going on?
You worked for Chrissy Smith when she was in the Assembly.
Correct, yeah.
Tell me what you did when you were working for her and what you thought of the job.
So, and by the way, just to be clear, anything I say does not represent her or anything like that.
No, of course not. Friend of the show, by the way.
Yeah. What I did was I was her scheduler, field representative, and I got to oversee the issue areas of education and LGBTQ plus topics, as well as getting to work with any groups locally that work with our special needs population and stuff like that. And what it was like, honestly, it was like the best job I've ever had. Why
do you say that?
There's something about public service that's so incredible. I mean, to know that you're going to help people,
right,
who you may also never meet in your life, but it's just such a good feeling. And I mean, it was a bit rough when the pandemic started because you're now dealing with an extremely overwhelmed system of a lot of people who need help, and it had its ups and downs. There were some really frustrating days because sometimes you do feel helpless. Like, how on earth can I help this one person to make sure they get access to what they need and to make sure that their life is able to improve after I get off this call with them? And sometimes you fail and sometimes you succeed. Most of the times there was a lot of success, but it was really eye-opening. I mean, to see that, like, this is how government functions. Right. We are here to help people. And I think what we need to really start looking at is the role of government and the work of government. I think other people have these great repetitive talking points saying how ineffective it is and how little the government can do. But really, at the end of the day, the government is at times a social safety net. It's here to help its people. And to be able to be a part of that was it's like one of the most rewarding things I think anyone can experience.
What was your perspective of Christy as an assembly member?
I can't even put into words how great she was. Honestly, she was. Before working for Christy, I of course got to work for her as a candidate, and even before that, I actually used to intern for Congressman Buck McKeon. Christy really was, in my eyes, what government is about, like what you should do, because at the end of the day, it didn't matter if you were Democrat, Republican, Independent, Green, whatever, voted for her, supported her or not. She sat with you at the table. She made sure everybody was heard, and would explain her voting decisions. And, she really wanted to make sure everybody in her district and across the state of California was taken care of. And I think that's so rare. And I mean, she would just, I guess, really, work with everyone, working with the nonprofits. She wanted to find the best way to serve the entire community and bring whatever she could back from Sacramento in resources, aid, state assistance, whatever she could to help people. And that was incredible.
she's announced that she's running for Congress, and I'm just curious again, and I'm just curious what you think about her as how she would be as a congressperson.
Well, working for her in the state assembly and knowing what she's like, she would be a fantastic congressional representative, and I can assure you she would be 1,000 times better than Congressman Mike Garcia. So,
used to be a friend of the show, Mike, but he's moved on. So what are you doing now these days?
So now, I got to launch an organization, so the Santa Clarita Valley Democrats.
It's good.
Huh?
It's good.
Yeah. I was like, what? So pretty much we're focusing a lot on just being here for the community, seeing what groups need help, how we can really get people the resources they need. So like recently we got to do a food drive that benefited Feed SCV, and then one that also benefited the SCV Food Pantry. Coming up, we're doing a blood drive with, oh my goodness, brain fart. Well, anyway, the blood mainly goes to support Henry Mayo Newhall Hospital, and then we're going to be doing another food and necessities drive that benefits the Sulphur Springs School District for kids. So pretty much really just community focused, because like I said before, this is what governance, politics, and everything should be about, is making sure people are taken care of.
Right.
So we're going to see what people need and see how we can step in to help out.
So, the Santa Clarita Valley Democrats. How did you come up with the name? It's so original.
Well, yeah. So we're Democrats, and we live in the Santa Clarita Valley.
Right.
So I figured, hey, Santa Clarita Valley Democrats.
Still like Democrats of the Santa Clarita Valley better, because then you can go Daskava.
Daskava. Yeah, that's it. Sounds interesting, actually. But yeah, probably sounds a bit more catchy than Skivid. So
Skivid sounds like a Soviet missile.
And but we'll just call it SCV Dems.
Okay,
we'll do that.
SCV Dems.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me about how it came about, the organization itself.
So I've been active in the Democratic platform for a while, and involved with another Democratic group out here called DAA.
Democratic Alliance for Action.
Yeah. And so in my mind, I was kind of like, you know what, we should do something a little bit different and work alongside each other. And SCV Dems, what we're really about is, of course, community engagement and helping, but really helping people understand what party platform is about, helping candidates understand kind of the process of it, educating the community about what the party is for and what they can do, and also, of course, working alongside candidates to get them elected.
But how is that different from the DAA?
So pretty much we have an education component to it. We get to help build a bench, help people understand the party and whatnot. So it's kind of like if you're new and you're looking for stuff, you kind of come in. We've also, the difference between us and the other organization is DAA meets monthly as of right now. We don't require monthly meetings. So really this is kind of the getting to work section of the party. Of course, we have social hours and educational stuff, but DAA also provides that social aspect that some people also really like, So this is just, come on, let's get active, get to work, meet candidates, let's get people elected, and we have well, not right now because of COVID. But once that's up, then we're going to start doing minor social stuff, but it's kind of more a fluid organization, as opposed with DA gets to have kind of more the well-seasoned people who've been involved in politics for a while, who come to their meetings, their monthly. There's that social aspect of it. But at the end of the day, I don't think there's any issue with it. We're going to be getting to work along.
Are you still a member of DAA as well?
I am, yeah.
So you're a member of both clubs?
Yep.
Okay. Does that conflict at all? Or is there any kind of rivalry or something like that? You guys going to play against each other in softball or?
Oh, that would be fun. A softball tournament.
There you go.
No, I think 2 is good. I mean, this valley is large. We've had population growth. So, I think it's better to work alongside each other.
And your role is president, correct? Is that
chair? Yeah,
chair.
We don't have the
whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. Tell me how you became chair. I mean, was it your idea to create the organization, or?
Yeah, so I've been thinking about this group for a while now, probably since last year, and there was a long trajectory of how to kind of get started. A couple of things happened along the way where we had to kick it up a little bit quicker than we had expected. But so I was able to I don't want to say I thought of it all by myself, because much like a lot of things that we all do, it all takes a big team. But at the end of the day, I ended up becoming the chair. We discussed it with the executive board and whatnot, and so I have a fantastic team behind me. So,
who is your team? Do you want to tell us?
Yeah, so I have Jackie Thomas. She's my vice chair.
She's great.
And then the other board members, we have Brett Haddock, Rochelle Lyman, Maido, Gina Kaufman, and Kat Walker.
All great people. Kat has done some great work with Moms Demand Action.
Yeah.
Brett actually helped with Radio Free Santa Clarita and Talk Santa Clarita for a while. And Mai was the former original editor for The Proclaimer. So I love all these people.
Yeah, no, they're great. And really, it's an incredible team. It's like having a dream team, and everyone cares about our community. And I think that's what is just beautiful about it.
How did you get these people involved? What and how did you choose them?
So it was pretty much when I first started. Of course, you need help if you want to start something, and it was kind of pitching the idea first, because really, if nobody had an interest in it, then why even go for it? But these guys all had an interest in it, and they were the people really who I had worked alongside for quite a while, and really the movers and the shakers and the doers. And as we continued to develop, it kind of was like, well, you've helped me this far, and you were all so intelligent and so hardworking that we should all be a team together. And so it just kind of kept growing, and that's how we ended up with the board.
Is this, would you say it's, for lack of a better way to describe it, a younger generation of Democrats?
No, actually, we have a pretty good mix of membership. I mean, the board itself it's a pretty good mix. We have a bit older, middle ground, and younger. But even the membership, too, is a pretty good mix of younger generation, older generation, middle-aged individuals. So it's a pretty good mix.
What would you say if someone joined the club? What can they expect?
So it's kind of a lot to do with what membership wants to do. Of course, we are based on getting Democrats elected, but what is your talent? Do you want to do the famous postcarding? Do you want to do phone banking? Do you want to help us plan social hour? So it's really whatever they want to do. But either way, at the end of the day, we all get to be one big happy Democratic family, and it's just a lot of fun. I mean, everybody that's joined, because everyone's like, how much work am I going to do? But it really is custom built to you.
Right.
So it's a lot of fun, and everyone who's joined hasn't really had an issue. So it's custom to however you want to do it.
Is do you get funding?
We do, yeah. So luckily we have a lot of people, of course, through membership and donors that have been contributing to us. So we're able to do a lot of actions. So getting of course, postcarding and stuff to really get an organization to go through. Of course, getting more is always better. But as of right now, we're pretty okay with it.
You're doing all right as far as how many members are in the club?
So it changes, but I think last time we were like 135, so we're probably at like 145, 150 now or something like that.
Talk a little bit softer.
So sorry. We're probably at one. So we were, I think, because last time I met with one of your reporters. I said we were at 135, so I'm going to guess we're maybe at 145, 150 now.
That's a pretty substantial sized club.
Yeah.
Is there a reason you think we needed a second club?
We're a bigger valley. I mean, DAA is now currently the longest and oldest Democratic group in our valley. So as we continue to grow in size and as we continue to become a more diverse party, I think that it's good to have more groups to cover the ground, help out, and just have different voices represented.
Dems are notorious for screwing themselves in this district. Why do you think that is?
I think because...
Are they just bad messaging, or fighting amongst themselves, or...
So, we're... And I don't want to say we screw ourselves, because we did really good in 2018,
Yeah, sure.
And this last election cycle, too, we took a lot of down-ballot seats. I think the difference with us is we're a big tent. That's what we're known for. The Democratic Party, we have a big umbrella or big tent, whatever we want to call it. So with that comes a lot of voice and a lot of responsibility and a lot of differing opinions. So at the end of the day, how are we going to be able to get all of these people and come to a consensus about what best fits for us? And I think, some people may consider it complicated, but it's diversity. And I think that's kind of what makes us a strong party and what makes it beautiful. We want to make sure we have we're doing our best to represent every single person in this community. And so we need to make sure we have all the voices on the table, and making sure that we can develop something for everyone. And that's harder, but it's manageable, and we do it.
Do you, when you say you represent everybody, is this mostly a Democratic district right now, or what do the demographics say?
I'd say we're purple. Yeah. I think we are a district that has a little bit of everything. We have the far left, the far right, the moderates, the conservatives, the liberals. Yeah, I think we're a purple district. I mean, by voter registration, Democrats are ahead. And I want Democrats to know that. In the congressional district, we're like 7+ in voter advantage. And I think in the assembly, we're like at 1.5. But also, not everybody votes. And also some people don't vote just for their party. Some people will be like, okay, well, maybe this person isn't the best for right now. But really,
aren't there more declined estates, though? I mean,
there's a big chunk of him. Yeah. And really, I think that is, I feel like that may be a lot where our country is headed. But yeah, because kind of like I said before, a lot of people are really middle ground.
Right.
And who is going to best represent them and serve them? And so in cases like that, yeah, messaging is important. Like when you look at Christy Smith and Mike Garcia, you can clearly be like, Christy Smith has a proven track record in her time in the assembly and serving on Hart School Board, a member who cares about this community, who has meetings, even her advisory councils, somebody who wants to listen to the community and bring it back. Mike Garcia has, I don't know what Mike Garcia has. He votes against women. He votes against the Equality Act. He votes against his constituents. And if you listen to his commercial, all he says is liberals are bad, and he calls everyone a socialist. And then he's like, but vote for me because I'm good. So there's no...
Well, he was a fighter pilot.
I'm aware. Yeah. That's unfortunately all I know about Congressman Garcia.
That's true.
And which, of course, that is no disrespect to his service. I commend anybody who is willing to serve and fight for this country.
But there is something humorous about the fact that is the thing that he seems to be able to, it seems to be the only thing that you can say about him is that he was a fighter pilot.
It's all I know, yeah.
Yeah.
It's all I know, and the other thing I know is that he doesn't really respond to many of his constituents.
Why do you say that?
Because everyone I talk to can't get a response from his office.
Really?
Yeah. And if you think about it, a lot of the times he will tweet from his elect Mike Garcia account on Twitter, not his official thing, which when you do that, your congressional staff can't respond because they're not campaign staff. So really, all Mike Garcia is doing is a disservice to his constituency when it comes to answering questions. And I don't even care about any of the other stuff. I just want to know, if you're going to tweet from your elect Mike Garcia account about your vote, but not from your official page, well, how are we going to be able to call your office and say, well, why would you tweet that? And then that poor staffer can't really answer it because it's a it's a campaign tweet.
Right.
So,
I would know because he's blocked me from his Twitter account.
And that's the other thing. Yeah, he blocked a couple of my friends. So, which from your elect page, I think that's allowed. I'm not fully sure, but if you're gonna tweet your votes and the reasons why you voted from that, how are we going to know if you block people?
I'm more concerned that he would just block dissenting opinions. You know what I mean? It's like he's not hearing other voices, just the people that agree with him.
Yeah, the congressman has a good record for really not listening to anybody else other than his base. So,
have you ever met him?
I have met him. Yeah.
When did you meet him?
So I met him when he was actually campaigning. And we were there during PSPS, Public Safety Power Shutoffs, and it was a hearing, and he wasn't the congressman at the time. He was just there campaigning. So that's really it. He shook my hand, and that was it. I was not there to talk to him. I was there to do my job,
If there are more Democrats in this district than Republicans, how come Christy lost?
Well, obviously, I can't pinpoint the main thing, right?
But theory.
But if you think about it, we lost by 333 votes.
Yeah.
We did not we. I'm not the campaign.
Right.
But that campaign focused on safety and constituents, and the Republican Party was canvassing and door knocking, and then of course just saying blatant lies. So if you are able to go to door and you don't care about people's safety and you're willing to risk their life as opposed to an opponent, yeah, you probably could get another 333 votes. There was also that really odd situation going on where there were like a couple of places that were claiming they were official ballots, but they weren't.
Official ballot boxes.
Yeah, official ballot boxes, but they were not. So I'm hoping, of course, that those got in. I don't know. But I think that it has a lot to do with the Republicans just have a really good time lying to people and also putting the general public and health at risk.
Lying's a harsh word, though. I mean, everybody steps around that word. So what you want to say?
Oh, yes. Okay. So
no, I mean,
no. I know.
Okay to say it. I agree with you. I mean, I think there are a lot of lies that were said, but I mean, what do you think those lies were?
Well, I mean, saying that, and again, I mean, yes, maybe lying is a harsh word, but okay, if I say it in a softer way, yeah, Mike loved to twist truth into where it's not the truth, you know? Saying that Christy was a career politician and a socialist, and then stating that she fired teachers, like, none of those things happened. I mean, even if you look at the Newhall School District record,
right,
no teachers were laid off. They were given the notice, which one is a courtesy and also required by law, for it to happen, but nobody lost their job. And I believe even one person got hired after that. It was during a recession. And then stating that, Christy Smith did a wage increase or whatnot. Like, again, look at the records of things. It was like, maybe like $5?
Yeah.
And around what time frame? Like, you can twist things into so many different things, and that's really what they did.
There is something clever in the idea of saying she gave herself a raise, but not saying it was $5. You know what I mean? It's like she gave herself a raise, and then not answering what it was.
Yeah,
creates this image in your head.
Congressman Garcia rather do a disservice to his now constituents to benefit himself than rather being an honest person about and telling us why he would just be a better representative.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's really, at the end of the day, that's what he did.
One of the things about him during his campaign was, I remember one of the few commercials that he actually talked about what he wanted to do was like solve homelessness. Great.
Yeah.
How? That's what I was waiting for. It's like, anybody can say that. It's like, well, I'll give you great health care. But if you don't have a plan or a way to do it,
they're notorious for that, actually. Yeah. I've been being told we're going to get a great health care plan for 4 years now.
It was the best healthcare plan ever.
Best healthcare plan when they had the majority of our governors, they had the House, the Senate, the presidency, Supreme Court, and we still never got healthcare for every person in this country. It's incredible.
You sound like you don't like Republicans.
It's not that I don't like Republicans, but don't BS the public. Like, how do you have every branch of government and you're going to say you can do all of these things? None of it got done. None of it. I mean, there was no health care. There was, and I did not want one, but there was no wall. There was no.
And Mexico didn't pay for what they did.
Yeah, Mexico didn't pay for what. I mean, this was the most ridiculous joke of an administration and government that I had seen for the first 2 years, and then the administration was just a joke for 4. I mean, and the fact that our current congressman stood by him all the way up to when we had domestic terrorism on our capital, and then still voted against certifying the election.
Is he a seditionist? Do you consider Mike Garcia a seditionist?
I mean, I said he was, so. Yeah. You know what? I don't want to talk poorly of the guy anymore, but I could.
I don't know. You're doing so well.
There's a lot of things I think of the current congressman, but maybe we should move on from him.
Okay. Yeah, my dogs are telling us we should move on too. Yeah. Let's do my question for my son Ryan.
Okay.
His question is this.
Hey Andrew, I'm going to be able to vote in 8 years. Should I be a Democrat, and if so, why?
I think you absolutely should be a Democrat, and why is because, well, first of all, for Ryan is, for being so young, I'm glad he's engaged already. I mean, with a dad like you. You know what, though? Because he deserves to, one, be able to shape the party that's going to fight for him. And, well, Ryan, we're pretty great. Like, we're awesome. We're over here fighting to make sure you get to be a registered voter, can early vote, have all access, and to make sure we're leaving a climate and an earth that's inhabitable for him and his future generations, and maybe your grandkids or whatever happens after. So, and also, even if he doesn't, which is sad, I hope he does become a Democrat, he should still be a registered voter and be engaged to be determining the policies that are going to affect his life.
Well said. Well said. One of the things, I was a member of the DAA for a long time, but I'll be honest. When I first joined, it was very hard to feel included. You know, I mean, because it was a very tight knit group of people. Yeah. And you come in as a new person, and you can't help but feel a little uncomfortable because it is so, you know, tight with the people that have been there for a long time. Yeah. If someone joins your organization, I don't know, the organization that you're doing, what can they expect? I mean, as far as becoming a part of it and getting to know people and things like that. I mean, basically, I'm wondering, you know, this podcast is for somebody who doesn't know about you guys, that's interested in getting involved. I mean, what can they expect?
So if they were to join right this second, we're in a bit of a pause because of COVID, but you know, they can expect kind of whatever they want this experience to be. Of course, we want them to be engaged. We want to get them involved, get them connected to a campaign, and also building, like I said, you know, the Democratic family. But sometimes people need to warm up to it. So if they want to learn more about the party and what's going on, they can join and they'll learn more about the party and what's going on. If they want to get connected to a campaign, we'll connect them to a campaign. It's really whatever they're comfortable with. And you know what, if they just want to be a part of something and they're not ready yet, then they can be a part of something, and we'll be more than happy to bring them in.
Are you, I mean, you have worked for Christy, and she's running for Congress now again. And is the organization definitely going to endorse Christy? Or are you going to see all the other candidates that are registered to run? So
there's an endorsement process that's going to be set up by the endorsement committee. Of course, because we're so far out from the election. Sure. Right now, it's just purely focused on the community. But it's going to be a fair process. Of course, I'm sure there are more than one person that's probably going to run. But really, I mean, if it was just me personally, right, and I'm not speaking on behalf of the organization at this point or a former staffer of hers, but like, yeah, she's like the best choice to be the representative.
I've endorsed her officially.
Oh, well, thank you. See, she's the best choice for it. But of course, there is a process, just like I'm sure the Republican Party has. But of course, they're assuming Mike Garcia is going to get their support, you know. Yeah. But yeah, so there is an endorsement process to it.
Well, I mean, I got some flack at a DAA meeting because I felt that when they were doing the endorsement process the last time around, they didn't bother to engage all the candidates that were registered. You know, it was kind of a done deal that Christy was going to get the endorsement. You know, she knew everybody. She'd been there for a long time and everything like that. But I found that there wasn't any when I found out there were 7 candidates and there wasn't any outreach to those other candidates, it disturbed me a little bit. Will there be outreach to these other candidates?
So a lot of it, of course, depends on how the elections and endorsement committee decides to do their process. They will present the board with how it's going to be. But also, there is another way to look at it is if you're running and you don't know the main groups in this area or what district you're running to represent, should you be running?
I disagree with that. And let me tell you why. Because not everybody knows of these organizations, but might be genuinely interested in becoming a candidate.
Of course.
And would want to know about these organizations.
Of course, yeah. So, I mean, in those cases, because DAA at the time, as far as I know, they would look at LA County's website and because we overlap with Venturas to see who's going to be filing. So I'm pretty sure emails did go out to say, you know, come on and engage and all of that, as far as I was concerned. But I also think that you should know what's going on if you're running. You shouldn't just be like, oh, I just moved here, or actually in some cases, as are other people who are running, they don't even live here, right? And they just assume they deserve it. So I mean, and the reason why I say that is because when you look at DAA's that last endorsement process, right? Because it was a special election. There was nothing normal about the last election.
Sure.
You saw a woman who has been here for years and years and years, helped build this community,
Right.
has worked tirelessly on a school board, you know? And then you had one gentleman in particular who, you know, said they're going to do this, did that, did nothing but tear apart the party, and then left. Didn't turn back. And I think that's a lot of what we keep seeing is in purple districts, you have people who see this as an opportunity. They don't really care about what happens here. They'll say things to try and get through. They hope they win. They'll bring in a ton of money. They're not even from here. They'll run, split us, and then they leave.
Yeah, well, I understand what you're saying there, but what disturbed me wasn't so much about the gentleman we're talking about.
Yeah,
friend of the show as well. But there were other candidates that were from, like, say, the Antelope Valley, way up there, that way up in the Antelope Valley, would never have any idea who DAA was because of how far they lived away from here. But they had grown up in the district.
They did, yeah.
And
I think I know which he was the
Annabelle.
Yeah.
Annabelle, very nice guy and friend of the show. Yeah. Got a lot of friends for the show. But it concerned me that he didn't know about the meeting for endorsement, and it struck me as. It seems to, and you tell me. I don't know what your as far as your club goes, but it seems to me as your organization goes. But it seems to me that part of it is I'm going to be involved. I'm there to learn about the candidates. Yeah, and make a very informed decision about who I'm endorsing and who I'm going to support and why I'm going to support them. Yet, if the club or the organization is not embracing all candidates, there's a problem there. You know, it's not completely fair, and it's almost like you're picking a chosen one.
Okay, I see what I think. Okay, so
see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and so I mean, so I can't speak for DA. I mean, the
organization. Yeah, no,
and so
I'm wondering about the fairness in your
so of course the rules have not been written yet for endorsement, but in cases like that, I don't think that needs to happen in endorsement. I think where that needs to happen before endorsement. You know, like. People should know who's running, get an idea. Because, I mean, they're going to come before the endorsement committee. But also, it is our job to just be like, hey, this person's running. This is what they've done. So, you know, share their bio and so on and so forth. And then, of course, they're going to... sorry, I was vibrating. So, they need an idea of who's going to run and whatnot. But that all needs to happen, I think, before endorsement. Yeah. Because once you get to that point...
And I don't mean to diss... DAA in any way. I know the special election was a weird situation for everybody involved. Yeah, but it did. That was something that concerned me, and to me, the club or organization as a political club should be about fairness. So.
Yeah, I mean, so you know, and in that case, again, it was such an odd circumstance.
Sure,
and that's why I think everything was just weird at that time. And I mean, it didn't get better because then right after that we had our election, and then we had a pandemic to another election. So I think, you know what, it was weird. I think that the board at the time did what they felt they needed to do to get this done as quickly as they could, to the best of their ability. Because also when you had, what do we have, like 13 people running total?
There was at least 8.
And so I think they did the best that they could in the short amount of time that they could. But I think what we get to see that is, you know, it's a learning experience. We all have, because we're all human, like, you know, we can only do so much. Sure. And it's hard to predict. I mean, I don't think any of us ever predicted like a pandemic, right? So how do we switch to that? And I don't think any of us expected a resignation to which would trigger a special. So I think the group did the best they could, and they took it as a learning lesson. And now I hope to God it never happens again, but like if we ever need something like that, we should have a process now set forth for it.
Okay. So if somebody's on the fence right now about getting involved with your organization, what would you tell them?
I mean, what harm does it do to get involved? You know, like...
Why not?
Yeah, well, why? I mean, because I'm a firm believer that everyone should have a seat at the table. Yeah. Like, because if you're not, you're on the menu, you know? Oh my goodness, I forgot who said that, but it's a very important woman. Because... like, you should have a voice, and things are going to be decided about you, you know? And I wish that's the thing that the general public understood. A lot of people tend to be like, like it's politics, right?
Right.
But these decisions affect your life. Maybe not every single day where it's noticeable, but you know what happens to you, or if you live in a different state, it does affect you every single day. But you should be there to do it, because if you're passionate about something,
Right.
why not be engaged in the policy that's going to be made about it? You know, like, I've met with a bunch of different groups, and I think my favorite was like people who want to legalize ferrets. You know, like in the state
You
of
mean rats, big
ferrets, ferrets,
furry rats.
But like, you know, it's not what you would think about, right? Like, oh, what an interesting group. But they were the most exciting group I think I've like, because it's just such an odd topic. But there's something for everyone out there, you know?
Even big furry rats.
Even ferrets. They're very cute. They're just
big furry rats.
You know actually what they remind me of? You know, remember that toy that was, it would have like a string and magicians would do it? That's kind of what they remind me of, because they're so long and tiny. And they just kind of like, I don't know why. Because I started watching videos about them and everything, and I was like, oh, like, they look just like that little toy that had like the string on it.
Well, I should be careful, because, you know, the Talk Santa Clarita audience is the ferret audience for Talk Santa Clarita is huge. So, and actually, by that I mean ferrets themselves.
Oh, wow. Very engaged. See? Don't upset them.
They're highly intelligent creatures.
Yes. Cute little noodle things.
Yeah. All right. Well, if they want to get involved with the club or the organization, do you prefer club or organization?
Organization.
Organization
Yeah.
sounds more professional.
Yeah, there we go. See?
What do they need to do to get involved?
So they can always go to our website, SantaClaritaValleyDemocrats.com. They can email me, chair@SantaClaritaValley.com. They can follow us on social media. Everything is just at SCV Dems. Right? That's a little, at.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And just find a way to get engaged. There's a contact us. There's a sign up to volunteer, or just if they even want to sign up for our newsletter, there's that too, just to kind of get a glimpse at it.
And that's all there is to it. And then,
That's all there is to it.
And then welcome aboard, and everything starts.
Yep.
I'm curious in general about one thing that's different about you since the last time was the lack of hair. Is Lex Luthor a fan? Are you a fan of Lex Luthor?
I don't even know Lex Luthor to be.
You don't know who Lex Luthor is? Really?
I'm a very out of touch when it comes to like movies and stuff.
Comic books. He's like Superman's big villain. He's famous.
You
for
know,
being
growing
bald.
up, I didn't read comic books. I watched The Golden Girls, and that's what I did. In fact, it's what I still do.
You still watch The Golden Girls?
I love that show. Yeah, like I'm a big fan. So, but that is what my sister called me. She called me Lex Luthor. I've also been called Mr. Clean. So.
Which do you prefer?
Neither. You know, Andrew would be fine too, but that would be. I've also been called. Oh my goodness, it was that cartoon, Q. I don't remember. Oh goodness, it was a little kid and have hair. It's a cartoon.
Oh, Caillou.
Yeah.
Caillou, yeah.
Caillou, yeah.
Caillou, whatever
and then
it
I've been
is.
called the Avatar. So. I know everyone was like, you should just put like that arrow on your head for Halloween, and I was like, no, maybe not. Yeah,
you could go with I lost my hair out of stress. You know, from
that
being a
probably,
Democrat.
yeah. I mean, not from being a Democrat. I mean, have you seen what this administration previous to the Biden has been doing to us? I'm pretty sure. No, I lost it before then, but yeah, my life is interesting. You know, it's sometimes. Yeah, but it happened, I think I did it when I was like 19 and 20, and I still had hair. Yeah. And I went to the barbershop and she was like, well, do you want your normal? I was like, no, you know what? Shave it. The whole thing. She was like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah, shave it. And then it's like, are you sure? And I'm like, just do it before I change my mind. And I did it. And then I walked out and it was December and I was like, oh my gosh, it's so cold. Like, you don't realize how warm your hair keeps you until it's gone. Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, I think it's a good look for you, actually.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't think I have a choice anymore. I can't go back.
How old are you right now?
24. Yeah.
Take pause.
Yeah, it's like I was like, I look 40, but I turned 25 in a couple months.
Young. But I mean, are there a lot of people your age that have shaved their heads, would you say?
I don't know. Most of my friends, to be honest, are like in their 40s and on, so...
You're an old soul, then.
I just think I fit in with the crowd. I look old, kind of, so, and I make them feel young, so it's perfect.
Yeah. I only feel comfortable around 3-year-olds.
Joys of parenthood.
Is that what it is?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we'll use that as an excuse. What's a Democrat's favorite movie?
I don't know.
Mr. Smith Goes to Washington.
Is that it? Oh, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. Okay, yeah. That one. Yeah.
Never seen it, have you?
Nope.
No, you should.
I was like,
it's a great movie.
Let's see.
And you find out what the filibuster is supposed to be about.
All right, then I guess I should watch it.
Jimmy Stewart is appointed to the Senate, and realizes that there's a bad bill. He wants to stop it, and the only way he can stop it is by filibustering. And this is back when you had to talk to filibuster. And he does it for like, I don't know, it's been a long time since I've seen the movie, but it's like 2 days or something like that, something crazy. He almost exhausts himself and collapses on the Senate floor.
I've always wondered how because I was like, I have the bladder of that's the size of a walnut. I don't know how people can be up there for 8 to 16 hours. I remember Speaker.
I don't know if they have bathroom breaks or.
I don't think you're supposed, because remember Speaker Pelosi did it, and her heels, and I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, how on earth? But they do it. I mean, it's interesting.
That is the way. I mean, to me, the filibuster. And they talk about getting rid of it and things like that. It's like, don't get rid of it. Just make you earn it, like you had. Yeah,
I mean, I'm torn about it because when you look at a lot of the times that filibuster was used, it was used to block the civil rights movements. It was it was used to block equality. So, I think it's such an interesting topic because you get to see it from it's historical. Mm-hmm. But then also, it's been historically used to block any progress that this country has seen.
Right.
And then, much like a lot of things in government, is do the pros outweigh the cons, or how do we justify doing a lot of things we did? I mean, at the time previous, we've had it drop down to not 60 votes, but 51, just simple majority. So. There's a lot of interesting things that when it comes to changing the norms and of policy, but I think a lot of us also need to realize norms are not constitutionally required, that we've seen it in the previous presidential administration. So it just, I go back and forth with them when we come to changing rules.
What's the future of your organization? Where do you see it going?
Well, that's a good question. I see it, I'm hoping, I started it. I'm hoping it gets to be here for a long time and continues the same look I have for it, being involved in the community and really doing what's best for the people. Mm-hmm. Of course, I'm not going to be the chair forever, so at least I really hope not. It's exhausting. So I hope whoever ends up taking the reins moving forward, and as the years continue on, I hope it continues to represent the community, represent the public, and do what's best for the public. And that's really all I hope for it.
Okay, so I'm going to challenge you now.
Okay.
You can either sing or tell a joke.
Crap. I'm going to tell a joke. I need to think of a joke.
Okay.
It's really sad too. Yesterday I even heard a joke, and it was about an octopus. 'Cause I don't like singing. Does it have to be a good joke? Can it be?
No, it can be terrible.
Actually,
the worse the better.
Oh, good. Okay, knock, knock.
Who's there?
Boo.
Boo-hoo.
It's just a joke. No need to cry over it.
There you go. That's perfect.
Bam. Or we can just look at my life. That's funny enough. So, whatever works.
Get in line, buddy.
Yeah.
All right, Andrew. I appreciate you coming out here to do this and talk a little bit about the organization. I wish you much luck with it. I hope it has a big future in Santa Clarita.
Me too.
And we hope you guys enjoyed the talk.
You've been listening to the Talk of Santa Clarita. Listen to us on iTunes, SoundCloud.com, YouTube, and Stitcher. Barring a life event getting in the way, a new podcast is available every Tuesday. Questions, comments, and show ideas can be sent to thetalkofsantaclarita@gmail.com. You can also call or text us at 661-505-8672. That's 661-505-8672. Follow us on Twitter at The Talk of SC or on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at The Talk of Santa Clarita. You can also visit our website by going to www.thetalkofsantaclarita.com. This has been a production of Radio Free Santa Clarita Incorporated, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. To donate, go to radiofreesantaclarita.org/donate. Radio Free Santa Clarita, on the net and on the air, and we're very much aware.
Any questions?